What's up, comic and pop culture fans? As we speak, there is a dingleberry on eBay trying to scam me out of a fair trade. God, I hate eBay. But instead of getting upset about it, I thought I'd do a video recollecting scams and stupidity that just comes with being a seller. If you're someone who sells a lot on eBay, you are bound to run into dingleberries. Sadly, this hobby of ours is pretty full of them. But maybe sharing some of these stories is going to help ease the pain and frustration. When I was in business classes in college, my professor told me about the bullshit tax. People not paying for their books, people taking advantage of you, theft, and more. I do online live claim sales every single week, and I've never been scammed. Once in a while, I run into someone who doesn't pay for their books, but I've never been scammed in this way. But you go on eBay, happens every few months. Definitely says something about eBay. For whatever reason, people think that they have a license to stupidity and scamming. I don't know why. But let's dive into our first tale, which is actually not my story. A friend of mine named Harry sells comics at yard sales, flea markets, and occasional Instagram sales. He sold a copy of an Eternals #1 to some dude. A little bit later, he got a message from the guy upset that the book had a signature on the first interior page. You want to know who that signature was? Jack Kirby. Imagine being upset. Luckily, that buyer was cool enough and they did a fair return, and Harry actually ended up selling the book for way more. So, can you imagine being upset over finding a signature, that Jack Kirby signature, in a book and wanting to return it? Okay, go for it, dude. Back when I was selling statues, this is a really bad one. I sold my Deathstroke premium format figure. After arriving at the buyer's house a couple weeks later, he tried to get all his money back by putting in a claim and showing pictures of an absolutely mangled statue. You need to know, when you ship a statue, it's like custom made foam and all this stuff. I'm not going to say it's never going to break. It's happened. But this looked like he went a couple rounds with a sledgehammer to this thing. It was ridiculous. It was complete and obviously a lie. He was trying to say that I sold such a heavily damaged and glued together statue in a massive way to try to get my money. And here's the worst part. eBay actually sided with this joker. Now, this was years ago. eBay seller protection is way better, but that left a bad taste in my mouth for years. In fact, after this, I spent 2 years not even selling on eBay. It was that much of a blow. Kind of still not over it. This is a great one. I love telling this story. I sold a SpiderMan #1. It was like the first Cindy Moon SpiderMan #1, Volume 3. I said it was an estimated near mint, could go to a 9.6, maybe even a 9.8. He got it. And I got a message saying that he was really upset that he didn't get an amazing Spider-Man #1. What? I thought he was joking, but he really was serious. He really thought he bought the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson and the first issue of an Amazing Spider-Man comic book for $10. So I had to obviously explain to him, hey, you bought what you saw, and that's not an Amazing Spider-Man #1. I was able to explain it, but it was a weird one that sits with me to this day. In 2023, I sold a Challengers of the Unknown book on eBay. It was a graded book. I just got it as part of a collection. It was about a 5.0, something like that. And it sold for $60. And I got a message a week later saying, hey man, this isn't a 9.8. I'm like, you're right about that. He said he watched all my videos of hunting modern books and saw how many 9.8s I was getting and was hoping the book was a 9.8. So I had to explain to him that he bought the item that he bought, very clearly showing a grade of a 5. But I also had to explain that a 9.8 of a 1961 DC book would be worth a little bit more than $60. This one's not my story. Do you guys know Joe from 360 Comics? Super cute, and he sells awesome books all the time. A couple years ago, one of his regulars, and I'm talking about a dude so regular that he was pretty much at every single one of his Instagram sales, bought like a $100 book. He complained to Joe that the condition wasn't exactly what he was looking for. Joe told him, no problem. Return the book, you'll get a full refund. Fair. He told Joe, I'm keeping the book and I need a full refund. That doesn't make any sense. So Joe doesn't negotiate with terrorists, so he said, no, I could give you maybe a partial refund if you want to keep the book. Long story short, this guy went on like a 2-year smear campaign, dragging Joe's name through the mud at not even just Joe's claim sales, but other people's claim sales, including my own. He would enter the chat and talk smack about Joe. Nobody was on his side, too. Everyone was defending Joe. It was this whole thing. It actually got so bad, I thought Joe was going to have to, sue. I'm serious. It was stressing me out, and I wasn't even involved. He had finally agreed to stop, and we haven't heard it since, and I believe they've completely mended that relationship, so it's all good now. But that's a little bit of a case of you think you know someone. Time for the story of my first and only bad review ever. This makes about as much sense as Kamala Harris taking Trump's last name in marriage. Maybe even less sense. I sold some slab, don't remember what. 6 hours later, the guy asked me, can I cancel the order? I roll my eyes and I'm like, okay, fine. I canceled the order per his request and I relist the item. I didn't notice it until days later. I saw that I got a bad review and the guy said that this seller canceled my order for no reason out of the blue. Motherfucker, you told me to cancel. What? By the way, if you guys don't know, if you get a bad review, it takes an entire year on eBay for it to disappear. I messaged him quite a few times. I never heard back from him. I tried to appeal it. It didn't go through. I actually don't think that can even happen anymore. I don't think you can do that for a canceled item. So as you can see, eBay's learned a lot. It can help protect a seller from dingleberries a lot more, but older eBay, stupid stuff happened a lot. Time to tell the story of why I don't sell customers books. A friend of mine had a copy of the first appearance of Doctor Strange. It was a graded slab at a 3.0. Sold the book on eBay. The guy gets the book and tries to tell me he doesn't agree with CGC's grading. Not really my problem. And he thinks it's actually a 2.5. He opens a case and tries to dispute it, tries to get a full refund without having to return the book. Ridiculous. Luckily, eBay did have my back, but it was like 2 weeks of not knowing what the hell was going to happen. It settled. It wasn't an issue, but it was really extra stressful because it wasn't my book. Of course that's going to happen with a friend's book, not mine, of course. Time to tell you another story of why I don't take payment plans. I had a dude want to buy $4,000 worth of Batman slabs. I gave him a crazy good deal. And he said he'd pay me $100 a week. Now, this was one of the first times I was ever asked to do a payment plan. If you're doing a $4,000 deal, $100 a week, that's not too good for you. So not only did he not actually pay me $100 a week, it was more like $150 every 2 weeks, but sometimes more. He would pay me in like $10, $15, $40. The record keeping over this one sale was nightmarish. And finally, after an entire year of this nonsense, I think with $300 to go, maybe less, he messages me and says he needs it all refunded and he can't do the sale. That was a huge waste of time. And a lot of those books actually went lower in value so much. This was during the aftermath of COVID. Every single one of those books, I'm pretty sure, eventually sold for a loss. So this was like crazy bad in every way. Those books were cursed. The whole situation was terrible. And I do not do payment plans anymore. Dear God. I have some regulars that I've done like 20 or 30 transactions with. Those guys, I'll do payment plans. I do not do it for new timers. I also found out about non-refundable deposits. Gotta be smarter. Learn from my mistakes. Lastly, I'm going to tell you why I don't sell raw comics on eBay. I once sold the entire run of Tom King's Batman, so Batman Rebirth and Detective Comics Rebirth. It was my personal collection, and I know each of those books I read literally just once. So this stuff was near mint, but to play it safe, I said everything's been read once. Some of this stuff could be very fine instead of near mint. I was so embarrassed one day when the guy sends me a picture after I sent it of a book with all these spine ticks on it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He did it later that day, the next day, the next day, and so on and so forth, about 10 different times for 10 different books. And about halfway through, I'm like, okay, hold on. I know these books weren't in this condition. He was sending me pictures of completely different books. But obviously, I didn't have pictures of every last one of these books. He just chose to screw me over, and because I couldn't prove that the books didn't look like that, he ended up getting, when he was all done, almost half of his money back. And there was nothing I could do. That's actually not the first time that's even happened to me, selling raws on eBay. So, I'm done. I sell only slabs on eBay at this point. Again, I want to reiterate, I do claim sales live every single week. I've never been scammed. I've never had a problem. Never been scammed. You go on eBay, and it's like 1 in 20 transactions, someone is lying very obviously and trying to scam you. Full-time eBay sellers have a lot of horror stories just like this. It's kind of crazy. At least eBay's gotten better at protecting the seller. But still, what is it about eBay, man? And I would stop cold turkey, but I like having another iron in the fire. I have an antique shop, I have claim sales, I have eBay. Each one is actually different inventory. So it's good to have a different iron in each fire. So I don't want to completely stop using eBay, but damn, man. Shit gets a little crazy sometimes, but it's all part of the bullshit tax. What bullshit tax stories do you have? Drop them in the comments down below. Protect yourself, CYA, and I'll see you at the next video. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.